I get Erev Shabbos, everybody. Welcome to Jerry's Parsha Ponderings for Parshiot Vayetze and Vayishlach. We are going to go over a couple of themes that I've discussed in the past and hopefully add a couple of new ones as well. And we will essentially be discussing the life of Yaakov Avinu, the Bechir Sheba Avot, Yisrael, the founder and the forefather, Avram and Yitzchak as well, but Yaakov is the forefather of Am Yisrael and why we're known as Am Yisrael. So let's jump right into it. And to go over a couple of thoughts from previous years, we cannot speak about Yaakov Avinu without discussing his famous dream about the stairway to heaven, upon which the famous Led Zeppelin song is based. I don't know if that's true, but if it isn't, it should be. As we said in years past, the stairway to heaven, the ladder that Yaakov dreamt of, is none other than the DNA helix. Of course, there are other interpretations, of course, but the one that I've heard and that really speaks to me, and I've heard this from numerous sources, is that Yaakov saw this ladder going up to heaven and the malachim going up and down. And of course, malachim are lots of different forces. But the interpretation that I thought was what was most poignant and so important to really concentrate on and to ponder is this idea of the forces of good and the forces of evil going up and down this conduit from HaKadosh Baruch Hu to us. And one of the most interesting things I heard is the Torah tells us that Luz Shem Ha'ir Larishona, the name of Beit-El, which is either Beit-El as it is today, or more popularly and most likely Har HaMoriah, Har HaBayit is where he was. So the question, V'ulam luz shem ha'ir larishona, what's this luz that he's talking about? And we all have heard, I don't know if we've all heard, but I certainly have heard the whole idea of the luz bone. The luz bone is the C1, if you will, in the vertebrae, that it doesn't disintegrate, but it does. We know that it disintegrates, right? Because you can dig somebody up who's been dead for 100-something years. You're not going to find anything, right? So what is this luz? So we know that if a person is cremated, there is nothing left of them. If a person is buried, the DNA is still in the dirt. And that's where this whole concept of Tchiyat HaMesim is. They say that Tchiyat HaMesim comes from the luz bone, but there is no luz bone. But when it says Luz Shem Ha'ir Larishona, Yaakov had this dream of DNA. He saw the helix. That's what remains of us. Why Jews don't get cremated? Yes, I know if someone is cremated unwillingly, then of course they get a do-over. You know, the people who were cremated in the Holocaust didn't want to be cremated. So it's not like they're taking themselves out of the equation. But whenever I hear of Jews wanting to be cremated, I'm like, what are you doing? You're throwing away your Tchiyat HaMetim. This is where it comes from. It comes from the DNA. They say they could take DNA and recreate dinosaurs. And there are people that are even trying to do this, despite the fact that there are literally 5 movies telling you why this is a bad idea. But it can be done. It's incredible. And Then Yaakov goes to Haran. We know the story of the well with Rachel. I have to tell the story because my Hebrew name is Yaakov. My wife Ruchi, of course, is Rachel. We are Yaakov and Rachel. Our wedding rings say Vayehav Yaakov et Rachel. This is our Parsha. And Yaakov gets to the well and he opens it, and we know the whole story. Why the well? So last year we spoke about how Rivka with Eliezer by the well, and Moshe and Zipporah by the well, and Beirot Yitzchak, and all these. What's with the well? Well, of course, it's the symbol of water and how Torah is compared to water. And we said earlier this year when we were talking about creation, how it said V'ruach Elohim merachefet al pnei hamayim. Before Hashem said Yihiyar and injected the force, Hashem is the force. Literally, creation is taking energy and concentrating it to such an extent that it creates matter. The force is our souls. That's the Tzelem Elokim. And that's why you see with the Avos, there's always this theme of water, because Torah is compared to water. Without it, we cannot live. And it's why we always say, where did Jacob and Rachel meet? At the watering hole. Where did Ruchi and I meet? At Leilo's in Yerushalayim, a bar. A watering hole. That's where people meet. They met at the watering hole, because to show us how important water is to us and how important Torah is to us. And the story of Yaakov with Lavan. And this has always perplexed so many people. Why did it have to be done in such a conniving way? What had to be done in such a conniving way? Well, pretty much most of Yaakov's life, he had to learn how to deal with difficult people. His brother Esav, and he had to do the whole thing with the brachos and the lentil soup, and then the whole story with Rivka with the sheep, and we spoke about it last week or 2 weeks ago. And he had with Lavan with the sheep, he did all these things with the sticks to make them, and he wound up with all of Lavan's cattle and sheep and everything. Why couldn't Hashem snap his fingers and say, all right, here it is, it's all yours? Because Hashem can do anything. It's a lesson. His name was Yaakov, Vayakveni. He had to learn how to be cunning, because the whole story of Yaakov Avinu is a microcosm, and this is why I said earlier why he is the Bechir Sheba Avot, the progenitor of Am Yisrael, and why his name was changed to Yisrael. He had to learn how to deal in the world. Yaakov, even though it says Yaakov Ishtam Yoshev Ohalim, what does it mean? He was learning Torah, Mazel Tov. The whole story of Vayetze-Vayishlach, Vayeshev Miketz, we don't see him sitting in the base medrash. We see him working and with sheep, and he was a thing, and he had tons of cattle. He was the wealthiest man on earth. When he went to meet Esav, he gave him a matana. It was worth what today would be millions of dollars. Because Yaakov is teaching us that we have to learn how to operate in the world. And not everything is going to be easy. As a matter of fact, none of it's going to be easy. But we have to learn, and we have to use our God-given talents to learn how to deal in the world. So we see this microcosm. Yaakov, he had to deal with Esav. Then he had to deal with Lavan, and then he and his wives sat down, Rachel and Leah, and he said, "I see that the face of your father is not with me as it was in the past." Why? What happened? Well, he started doing really well, and this is the whole well thing. But no, he was obviously becoming much more successful than Lavan. He wound up with much more of the livestock than Lavan did. And his sons, Lavan's sons, said to their father, Yaakov has stolen everything that was ours. What do you mean he stole it? You made a deal with him. You said if they're going to be brown, they'll be brown. If they're going to be spotted, they'll be spotted. You get those. No, if they're going to be grizzled and all these different shapes on them, no matter what the deal was with Lavan, that's the type of sheep that were born. What does it mean he stole it? He didn't steal it. He earned it. Those Jews are sucking us dry. That's what Lavan's sons said to Lavan. They're taking everything from us. And before the Crystal Nacht happened, Yaakov got together with Yaakov got together the family, and he said, we got to get out of here. We got to go back to Eretz Yisrael because not looking too good. This isn't going to end well. Let's get out of here. And Leah and Rachel and Bilhah and Zilpah said, let's get out of here. And away they went. And it says on the third day, very interesting, on the third day it was told to Lavan that Yaakov ran. And he chased him for 7 days to Nachal Yabok, right? And gee, where have I heard this before? Or not yet? Same thing with Paro. The third day he ran, Red Sea. 7 days he chased the Bnei Yisrael. Why Pesach is 7 days? That's the 7th day of Pesach is the day we cross the Red Sea. Same story. It's been going on for thousands of years. It happened then, it happened in Mitzrayim, it happened in Spain, it happened in Greece, it happened in Eastern Europe, and all of Europe, and it'll happen again. What did Hashem tell Yaakov? Go back home to Eretz Yisrael, to Beit-El, the house of God. This is where we ultimately have to be. Interesting. So finally he catches up with Yaakov and they make a deal by the water. And they have the mitzvah, and I won't cross it for Ra'ah, and you won't cross it for Ra'ah. And that deal held. Why? Because there were defined borders. It wasn't like Yaakov was making a brit with Avimelech as Yitzchak and Abraham did within Eretz Yisrael. This was outside of Eretz Yisrael. And it held. Interesting. Once again, we know that Yaakov comes back to Eretz Yisrael, and what does he do? He buys a piece of the field that from Chamor by Shechem. Again, like we said in previous weeks, with the buying of Ma'arat HaMachpelah. Why did Abraham have to buy it? It was his. And Yaakov had to buy, or didn't have to buy, but he did. He bought it for Mea Ksita, 100 pieces of money. Again, this was not a small sum. This was like, you're buying a square block in Manhattan. This was a serious piece of property he bought. And like I said last week, the 3 places that nobody could tell the Jews that they took it, that it's not theirs. Maras HaMachpelah, Shechem, and the Beit HaMikdash. Again, I challenge you to find 3 more contested pieces of property on earth. But it's interesting. Yaakov didn't have to buy Shechem. God gave it to him. But he did. And what's the next thing that happens? Vayetze Dina bat Leah, asher yalda Yaakov l'rot b'not haaretz. The whole story of Dina with Shechem, the molestation, the genocide by Shimon and Levi, wasn't really genocide. They wiped out the males. In Shechem, it was a whole big deal. Yaakov was, of course, very upset by this. But again, who told you to buy what's yours? You're the master. You come in like a gvir. You have Shimon and Levi behind you. What are you worried about? You worried they're going to attack you? 5 minutes, Shimon and Levi finished the whole city. You didn't have to buy anything. It was yours. Don't be so humble. Because when we don't act with strength, bad things happen. And this is what happened in this case. The whole Parsha of Dinah ensued. I don't know if, far be it from me to judge Yaakov Avinu, but these are all cases that I've seen in the Mefarshim, and they question this. There was no need for Yaakov to buy Shechem. There was no need for Avram Avinu to buy Maras HaMachpelah, and there was certainly no need for David HaMelech to buy the field from Aravna. He was David HaMelech. And this is our land, Eretz Yisrael. It's our land that was given to us. There's no need for us to have to humble ourselves before these people. And we see once again that right after something questionable occurs, that a difficult Parsha ensues. Yaakov winds up, as we said, by Nachal Yabok, and the Sar Shel Esav, the angel of Esav, Hu Samael, Hu Hasatan, Hu Amalach Hamaves, he fought with Yaakov. What did Yaakov? So it says Yaakov bested him, and he told him, "You sarita im Elohim v'im anashim v'tuchal," and because of this, your name will no longer be Yaakov, but it will be Yisrael. You are the Sar, the minister of God. This is who Am Yisrael is. We are the ministers of God. That doesn't make us better than other people. It makes us supposed to be more responsible. We are supposed to set an example. Why? Because within Yisrael, and I heard this from my father-in-law, Rav Menachem, Reb Yehuda, Zecher Tzadik Kodesh Levracha, he said, Yud, the Yud of Yisrael is Yitzchak and Yaakov. The Sin is Sarah. The Resh is Rivka and Rachel. The Aleph is Avraham, and the Lamed is Leah. Within Yisrael is contained all the DNA, as we said earlier, of all the patriarchs and the matriarchs, and that blood runs hot through our veins, and we have to realize this. Yaakov asks the angel, Hagida nashmecha, tell me your name. Vayomer, the angel, again, this is, we're talking about Satan here, is who he's fighting with. And did he actually fight? Was it a battle royale? Or was it a spiritual battle? We don't know. And quite frankly, it doesn't matter. But he said, Lama zeh tish'al lishmi? Why are you asking me my name? Vayavaracho tosham, and he blessed him there. That's a very strange pasuk. What does it mean, Lama zeh tish'al lishmi? He's saying, you want to know my name? You want to know the name of the devil? You want to know the name of Satan? You want to know the name of the Malach HaMaves? Lama zeh. When you say, why me? Why did this have to happen? Now you know the name of Satan. Lama zeh. When you doubt Hashem, why did this have to happen? If you're saying it why so that I could learn, that's okay. But when it's like, why me? And I have no mazel. And I heard a beautiful, as an aside, I heard a beautiful Torah Anytime from, I can't remember. Oh, Rav Ben Susan. My bad. Rav David Ben Susan. He said, people always say, they say, oh, I have no mazel, I have no this, I'm not lucky, and welcome to my world. He says, why are you opening your mouth? He goes, you might have been blessed with wonderful things, and now we don't open on Al Tiftach Pela Satan. That's what this means. Lama zeh. You want to know the name? Doubt Hashem. Then you'll know the name of Satan. Again, it won't end well. But the whole point is that once Yaakov internalized this, Vayevarach, then he got blessing. Then he got it all. He comes to Esav and he says, Yesh li kol. Right? Esav says to him, I don't need, you don't have to give me a sheep with that. I got plenty. And Yaakov says, no, take from me, take my mincha, take my gift. Yesh li kol, I got everything. Why? The difference between yesh li rav, I have a lot, means you don't, you still want more. Yesh li kol, whatever Hashem gives me is all I need. That's the difference. That's a yid. That's who we need to be. And that's the lesson of Yaakov. After the whole thing with Dinah, Hashem says, Kum alei Beit-El. Go back to Beit-El. Right? He separated from Esav. He said, you go your way, I'll go mine. After Shimon and Levi cleaned out Shechem, he says, Kum alei Beit-El. Go back to Beit-El. That's what we all have to do. We have to go back to Beit-El, both physically and spiritually. Beit-El, the house of God. It's up to us to go and rebuild the Beit HaMikdash. We should be able to do it b'mheira v'yameinu. Shabbat hi makar habracha rabosai. Once again, take Walter's advice, don't roll on Shabbos. Have a wonderful Shabbos. Talk about this Parsha. I say it every week. I know I'm being repetitive, but it's intentional. So much to learn, so much to learn. Enjoy your family, enjoy your Shabbos. Kiddush, challah, chul, and fish, soup. Have a great Shabbos, everybody. Have a great weekend. Join us back here next. Thank you very much. Shabbat shalom.